Hi, I'm Carolina, your podcast host and expert womb healer. Over the past 5 years, I've served over 500 women to remove physical blockages in their bodies. We achieve this with Reiki. I believe healing doesn't have to be done alone, nor should it be. You will hear stories of healing, methods to heal with, and guest speakers covering taboo topics you won't hear anywhere else. Let's continue this journey of womb healing together. Hi, friends. Welcome back. This is episode 68, Why Your Hormones Matter Before Menopause with Kathy Fritz. And let me tell you, listeners, my friends, besties, this lady's a big freaking deal. I found her in a podcasting collaboration membership. And let me tell you, you're going to be so impressed with everything that she's going to share today. I've learned so much from just talking to her. And just in case you didn't know hormones matter, they freaking do. Not just when you're trying to get pregnant or when you're going into menopause, they matter all the fucking time. So we're going to learn that today. Buckle up, buttercups. We're going to talk with Kathy Fritz. Kathy, how are you?
I'm so good, Carolina, and it's great to be here with you and all your besties because I think they'd be my besties too.
Oh my gosh, you don't understand. Like, it's such a good vibe over here. I'm creating a healing movement, but also being an informed woman on this healing movement, healing everything that we need, whether it's emotional, physical. I'm like so excited. That's my new thing. I've coined it. I'm making it a healing movement. I decided that a couple of days ago. So you're on it with me now.
I love that. And I feel like I've been on my own little healing movement. So right? I'm happy to join yours for sure.
Okay. So I started this podcast. First season was I just wanted to have thought-provoking conversations with and all I did was interviews with people around the Omaha area or people in my network that I knew, loved, and trusted, and that were professionals and that had things to share so other women could understand there's other ways to heal or there's things that they should consider. And then they can have those conversations with themselves, practitioners, their medical team or whatever. Then the second season is when I learned how little I knew about my vagina, about my body, about my anatomy, and how really this podcast is God's and universe's way of educating me and using it as a vehicle, because I literally had the idea that my period was only the time when I bled. It wasn't like my period cycle. My menstrual cycle is a whole 30 days. And when I talked to my other friends or I pulled my listeners, they were in the same boat. So I sometimes listen to my own podcast. I sound a little narcissistic, but literally a lot of the listeners are in the same boat as me where we just don't know. And I found out a lot of women in America just don't know about their bodies.
They don't know what they don't know too. I mean, right. I don't think you thought of yourself as an uneducated woman when it came to your vagina.
No, but I also didn't know that the people were really lying to me about my tampons or what was inside of them until I interviewed Claire Crunk. And Claire Crunk started a hemp tampon company because she also wanted to know, she didn't want women to be fearful of what was inside their tampons. And there was just so much about that. I also didn't know that there was 4 phases to your freaking period.
Or my goodness. I'm going to rock your world with the fact that there's even phases to perimenopause and menopause.
I know. And you know what's funny? I didn't know that I'm turning 40 this year. So this is
congratulations. What a gift.
I know, I'm really excited. 30s were fucking amazing. So I can't imagine what 40s are going to be.
I think how 40s are even better. I think they're even better personally, but that was just been my experience.
Oh, I can't wait. So I'm thinking that, literally this episode is for me.
Excellent.
So let's go in. What does a woman's hormones matter before menopause?
Okay. So I like to offer this piece of information first. Menopause, which gets so much attention, is actually just one day. It's one day in your life, 12 months since you've had a bleed. Just one day, right? So again, it gets so much focus, but it's just that one day. So in the same way that puberty builds us to fertility, perimenopause builds us to no longer being fertile. And that is the time that I'm obsessed with. Then you have your menopause day and then your postmenopausal. Now, a lot of people refer to the time from menopause day on as menopause. And so that's fine too, as long as we're all on the same page, knowing that truly you're postmenopausal at that point.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Did I just reorder your universe a little bit?
Yeah, you just blew my mind. Okay, so your puberty, fertile, which is your period. Then you have perimenopause, menopause for a day, and then menopause, postmenopausal?
Postmenopause. Yeah, technically. Yep. You're post.
What is postmenopausal? Like, what is that? Is it like, so what is life? I don't know anyone that's postmenopausal.
So anybody,
or maybe I do and I don't know.
Yeah, for sure you do. So anybody who is past their menopause day is technically postmenopausal.
Medical menopause.
Did she have an ovarectomy, like having her ovaries taken too?
Everything was gutted. That's the way she describes it. She was done.
Wow.
So it was really bad. And she was 40 when she had that done. So I remember my mom just like, after that surgery, she went through so many things. And I realized that's really atypical. That was like, that's not naturally what happens. That was like medical intervention and then consequences post-surgery. So that I have to really unlearn that experience is not as the normal process of like, she went through hot flashes and sweating and all of these things. And oh my gosh, super moody that summer. God, that was a summer from hell. Like, and we went on a lot of road trips. I don't know why she thought it was a good idea. Oh, super emotional, almost like reminiscent now that I had a pregnancy and I have Ollie. It's almost like as if it was very like pregnancy-like symptoms of like that sizable of hormonal shifts and mood swings and that kind of thing. So,
but Carolina, can I tell you that unfortunately,
tell me everything.
It's incredibly common, not normal, common for women to have that experience with definitely with a medical menopause, but even with having a quote unquote normal shift from fertility to no longer being fertile. So that's where my work is, because
God, we need you.
Common, it's not normal to have unbearable hot flashes, crazy mood swings where like you're raging 1 minute and sobbing the next minute, not being able to sleep night after night after night. Think about it. If you lose just one night of sleep a week, it's like pulling an all-nighter once a week. Because it adds up to 7 hours, right? So it's like you're pulling an all-nighter. I mean, that is not how we should be living our 40s, 50s, and beyond. That is not how we were meant to be.
I imagine I know more women who don't get hysterectomies than do. So like, let's speak about that more like, so like, I know my mom was like an outlier. So like, if a woman is not going to have a hysterectomy and is going to go through perimenopause and menopause, what do they need to look for and what do they need to know about their hormones? Like what's the most important about their hormones to manage these seasons is a good word of life?
Yeah, I like that word. So I would say, first of all, education is power, right? Knowledge is power. So knowing that there is a normal hormonal shift going on is important, and understanding the different phases of perimenopause might be helpful. Knowing that symptoms predate period changes. So most women have symptoms, but they say, well, I still have a regular period, so it can't be perimenopause or it can't be hormones. But that's just it. It is hormones. The hormonal change is happening. It hasn't impacted their period yet, but they shrug it off to, well, I have young kids, so I'm just always tired and I never sleep. Or, you know, I think it's those post-pregnancy hormones that are making me lose all my hair. It could be, but it could also be perimenopause, because there's hair loss that can happen in perimenopause. So it's really, I think, partly education. And then the second piece is empowerment, knowing how to fuel the midlife body to best energize it, to best maintain a weight that she's happy with, to best sleep, because food and sleep are related.
Sleep is so important.
Without sleep, you can't do anything else. Whatever your goals are, you can't reach them if you're not sleeping. And you know that. And I know that because we both have been sleep deprived.
Like, it's amazing after you have a kid, how fucking productive you become, how much you can get done in a little bit of time. I wish I had my life together the way it is now, before I had a kid, I would be so rich right now. It's not even funny.
Well, the best part is we thought we were productive before we had kids. And now we're like, I wasted so much time.
It's so true. Okay, tell me what hormones are actually happening during this time. Sorry, I'm familiar with estrogen and progesterone. Are those important during this time?
So those are two that we definitely want to talk about, our primary sex hormones. So in early perimenopause, our progesterone is declining on a rather steady basis. And of course, there will be months where it's higher. There will be months where it's lower. There's an ebb and a flow there. When it's low enough, we actually won't ovulate. We'll still bleed, but we won't have an ovulatory cycle. And I know as a Reiki master who deals in fertility, you're very aware of the importance of progesterone to an ovulatory cycle.
Sometimes I can tell if, like, sometimes I'll channel. I can tell if, like, something is low. And I will just say, I need you to go to the doctor. And when at your next doctor visit, you need to get this tested. I have never found a good way to say, oh, by the way, I had a psychic online tell me I need to get my hormones tested, but usually I'm right and something is off. So my intuition is I can scan that, but it's always go to your doctor, get tested.
You know, and I think that's wise. Another option would be, though, if she has all the symptoms of, say, low progesterone, there are things she can do to try to boost that progesterone, you know,
like
eating progesterone supporting foods during week 3 of her cycle is really helpful. So those are your starchy vegetables, your beans, you know, your sweet potatoes, all that.
God, I love
stuff.
beans.
Well, you want to eat them more when you're building up your progesterone.
I am Hispanic, so I eat a lot of Cuban food. It's frijoles negros. Like, I don't know, Cuban black beans. That's what's up. So that's really great that, like, so if a woman needed to produce more progesterone, she would want to eat. See, like, I don't think women know. Like, I think a lot of women get told you just need to lose weight. But I'm finding that from working with different practitioners, I interviewed this amazing Chinese medicine doctor, and she's became my friend. Her name's Dr. Beck Hohen. And she's like, I'm just finding a lot of women that are not nourished properly.
I'm not surprised to hear that at all.
So when I talk to my clients and I'm like, what is your nutrition like? Oh, do you mean I need to lose weight? No, it's not that. Like, how are you nourishing your body?
How are you fueling your body? Yes.
So that's a great way to put it, fueling your body.
Well, those are the two I use, are nourishing and fueling, because it's not really about your weight. It's about what quality food are you putting into your body so that the cells can work in an optimal way.
I'm learning so much about it. I just thought, oh, it's just food, or you're hungry, you eat. I learned so much about unprocessed food and, like, how my body reacts and what, if I feel sluggish after or not. So it's been honoring what I can get as least processed as possible. That's the phase in our house right now, actually. That's really, like, we're learning to re-eat, like, to fuel our bodies all over again. It's like this new mission.
That's beautiful.
So with that, when they're looking for the progesterone to support it, what about the estrogen? Do they need to support that too?
Good question. So estrogen is doing more of a kind of up and down month to month. It's a little less consistent. And what happens is if you have a dipping progesterone month with a higher estrogen month, then you're going to get what's called estrogen dominance. And that's where a lot of perimenopausal symptoms tend to happen, is from this place of estrogen dominance. So there's two types of estrogen dominance, one related to low progesterone and one where, you know, your progesterone is actually in pretty good shape. Your estrogen is just super duper high. And so one of my favorite ways to encourage women that have estrogen dominant symptoms is to eat brassica vegetables, eat your cruciferous vegetables. So your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, your Swiss chard, all that stuff is going to help your body choose a particular estrogen pathway for the metabolites. So that's fancy science talk for when your body's done with its estrogen, it needs to get out. It can go out of your body 3 different ways. You really want one of those ways more than the other 2. And the first way that we try to do that is by eating at least 3 cups of those cruciferous vegetables every week. Now, when you're making a shift towards fueling your body with more living foods and less processed foods, that's actually really easy to do. So for example, instead of having rice with your delicious Cuban beans, try cauliflower rice with it. If those beans are that good, you're not going to taste the cauliflower.
That's true. I've had cauliflower rice before and it tastes like nothing. So if
it's very bland. So it's really about putting something with it.
My husband really likes cauliflower rice. I have to try that. I haven't considered that before. I've done it with quinoa and that was not a hit in our house.
Quinoa has a different consistency. I feel like it would kind of clump with the beans in a way that was less appealing.
Yeah.
They're making cauliflower rice really easy, right? You can usually find it in the frozen section of your grocery store. If you want to control the consistency of it, you just take a head of cauliflower, put it into a food processor, and then you get to decide the consistency of your cauliflower rice.
That's excellent. So you said there was 3 ways. Are you saying like, what is the way that it would exit your body? Bowel movements?
So it does always exit through our bowels if it gets metabolized. Sometimes it doesn't and it gets reabsorbed. And that again adds to the estrogen dominance. So then we have dirty estrogen hanging out as well as the estrogen that our ovaries are making. And then, so yes, it would go out through our bowel movements, but it has to go through the liver first. And that's where these 3 pathways are possible. Or it doesn't happen and it gets reabsorbed.
Who knew that there was so much to like hormones?
Oh my gosh, hormones are responsible for most of our body functions. I mean, we're just talking about 2 of them. There are over 200 hormones in the body and they continue to discover more hormones. Oh my gosh, it's still like new science.
I'm so like blown away with this conversation. Okay. Like I have chiropractor friends and they're super healthy and my doctor tells me I'm healthy, but like, let's just recap this conversation. So the hormones matter before menopause because they're going to tell us so much and how our body is, like how it is currently doing. Like if it's too high or too low, that's also going to indicate what you need to address to fuel and nourish your body better.
Yeah, and how you're feeling.
And how you're feeling. So sleep's important, nourishment's important, knowing and being aware of your body is important, honoring and making decisions with your body is important. But how do you know if you have a hormonal imbalance? So like a lot of people are going to say like, okay, you gave me this information, but how do I know what my hormone levels are? And then at what point are they imbalanced?
So Carolina, one of the ways that our work kind of connects is you're so into the concept of intuition of your own as well as your clients. And that is also a big piece of my work. So I tell women, I don't really care what your blood work or your urine shows because things vary so much in testing. And let's take blood work, for example. We're seeing your serum hormonal levels. We're not seeing your cellular hormonal levels. And it is your cellular hormonal levels that are going to dictate your experience. And so when women say, well, I'm not sure, but I'm not really sleeping and I am gaining weight pretty steadily, but I didn't change anything. Like I didn't change what I'm eating or how I'm exercising. You know, my mood has been really unpredictable lately. Like I used to think I got like PMS a day or 2 before my cycle started, but you know, now I feel like I'm moody all month long. You know, these are symptoms. They are our body's way of saying there is something going on here. I need your help. And the body's cry for help will get louder and louder. The symptoms will continue to progress until we do something.
Or you break.
Well,
you get to choose your breaking
there's
point.
That too.
So the symptoms get louder and louder, I guess, is like the way I like to think is like, where's your breaking point? At which point is the loudness going to be enough? So you've mentioned so many great things and you mentioned cellular level. And so can we do this without a doctor? And I think you've already answered that. So it sounds like we can. The biggest thing here is knowing what our body is saying.
That is definitely a huge piece of it, is understanding that your body is asking for help through these symptoms. You may not know exactly what help it needs. And that's where an educated practitioner comes in. Now, I'm not anti-MD or, I mean, they get a great education, but they're educated in a certain way. Their education is cover the symptom with a pill. That is how medical doctors are trained.
Yep.
Some medical doctors get additional training, and those are the medical doctors I really enjoy visiting as well as following on social media, because they've gotten additional training around food, around exercise, or other holistic measures that acknowledge that we are more than just a symptom. We are a body that is complex and interacting with itself and with the outside world. So I'm not anti-doctors, and certainly if women decide to do a bioidentical hormone, you're going to need a doctor who's really knowledgeable in that. But there are other types of practitioners, health coaches included, chiropractors you mentioned, acupuncturists, who can help you move the needle on your symptoms in a way that is dealing with root cause as opposed to symptom management.
I really love traditional Chinese medicine. I have had great results with it. I am now seeing actually the lady I mentioned earlier. She does virtual consults, and I'm actually doing a tincture that she had made for me to support all the things I had so many myriad of things. I just got it a couple of days ago. So I haven't been taking it very long. Yeah. It's just like, I was exhausted. I'm stressed. I need to sleep more, but I also have asthma-like symptoms, and I've had COVID 4 times. So I need immune support. And I want to make sure that I'm also, like, with my work, with energy work, that she probably educated me is yin and yang, not yin and yang.
Cool.
And that my energy is balanced even with these herbs while doing all those things. So it was really great to talk to someone who could see all of the things, like energetically, and support me in that. So if you feel like your hormones are imbalanced, or if you notice that you're not sleeping, if you notice you're not feeling well, you should start to write down and keep a little bit of a log of those symptoms, and or if you're seeing any patterns, and then ask for help, ask for and seek. I'm going to link Kathy's information in the show notes, but Kathy, can we just run down, just so that we're extra clear? Can you tell us what are, like, the symptoms of, like, what perimenopause is and what they could be experiencing, so they know that they need to take action?
There's so many, but let me give you, like, the most common ones. And then there's actually some weird ones that I'll mention.
Sure.
So weight gain, inexplicable weight gain, especially around the middle, is a big one. Poor sleep quality, whether you can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep, wake up at an ungodly hour and you're up for the day. That's common. Hot flashes, very common. Night sweats, kind of in line with that. Low libido, dry vagina, very common. Losing your hair from where you don't want to lose it, gaining your hair somewhere that you might not want to gain it, like your chin or your neck. Actually, you can get, like, those sparse hairs on your neck. Yep. Joint pain can actually be related to it. And then some weird things like burning tongue or burning mouth, really brittle nails, super dry skin. This can all be hormonally related.
I thought it was just because I lived in Nebraska. My nails and...
No, I mean, like, getting super
dry
dizzy, like constant dizziness, like, or regular dizziness can be related to hormones.
Okay, so you're a hormone coach. If someone comes to you and says, I have 3 or 4 of these symptoms, what is it like to work with you?
It feels like somebody's finally listening to you for the first time ever and taking you seriously. I mean, that's what my clients say, is like, I knew something was going on, but my doctor or my spouse or whatever, they didn't take me seriously. And so there's, like, an incredible amount of validation in my work. And I would imagine also in your work, just this feeling of, like, oh, somebody finally gets me. So that's, the feeling and being heard and creating space. I'll have clients come to a session and be like, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. Oh, we fill the time and then some, because allowing a woman to have space to talk about herself and what she is feeling and what she'd like to do with new information she's learning is such a beautiful experience for me. I'm so honored as a coach when a woman, chooses to work with me, because I am just, again, honored to be part of that process with her.
I love it so much. Oh, you're a healer in your own right.
Oh, in a different way from you, but yes, absolutely.
So when a person comes and they're looking for hormone help, are you helping them with nutrition, lifestyle, probably implementing changes? Are you creating a custom plan, I guess? Is like, I'm looking for like if a woman is going to see this episode and they're going to want to work with you or want to seek out help from even maybe another practitioner that is hormone related, what are some essential structural steps that they should be taking or would be helped through?
I think one-to-one coaching is where you're going to move the needle the most. Every woman's hormonal landscape is different, and your personal hormonal landscape is different month to month. So it's nice to really have that personal attention. So I think that is a huge part of it. And I think there needs to be regular meetings. So my clients, I meet with them every single week in either a 3-month or a 6-month stretch. And as you mentioned, we're really looking at making some impactful changes. But I would say the most important part of any coaching relationship is that it's client-centered. And so if you meet with somebody and they're speaking more than you are, if they're talking at you more than asking questions and trying to understand you, to me, that's actually kind of an alert of like, ooh, this might not be coaching. This might be mentoring or teaching or something that's not really coaching. Coaching, you, the client, are in the driver's seat. And your coach is next to you saying, okay, you could go left or right up here. If you go right, here's what happens. If you go left, here's what happens. What feels aligned with you?
And trusting yourself to do it. I love that. So let's just recap. So hormones matter before menopause because they're going to tell us exactly what's going on and what needs to be balanced. And also then basically how to better nourish our bodies so that we can feel our best during that time. Menopause is one date. This is like, did you pass the test, Carol? Were you paying attention? Heck yeah, I was going to ace this one.
Yeah, you were.
Menopause is a date in time, and that's only after you've had 12 consecutive months of no period. Mm-hmm. And the symptoms that most people think are menopause are actually symptoms of perimenopause, and postmenopausal is after the date, is the time period after when you have no more period. But what I'm not sure of, can you clarify, do the perimenopause symptoms go away in postmenopausal? Like, do you have no symptoms then?
So in a perfect world, yes. If you have had kind of minor symptoms through perimenopause, they should go away once you're postmenopausal. If they don't, then that is just a very clear indication from your body that something continues to not be right and you need help. So although I would say probably maybe 70% of my clients are perimenopausal, I do work with about 30% postmenopausal women who are still having hot flashes, still having weight gain they can't control. You know, maybe they've started with heart palpitations. That can be one of those kind of weird symptoms of a hormone imbalance. So I think to your question, yes, ideally they have gone away.
So I've watched a ton of Diane Keaton movies in my life. And I forget which one, but she always seems to be like menopausal, like when she plays like the older woman. So postmenopausal, I'm curious about the libido. So can you go through like when there's like expected times that it's normal to have a higher or lower libido, or should you have always a hot libido your entire life?
We could do a whole episode on this alone. So let me just, I know we're getting a little long.
Give us the 101 though.
Let me give a quick thing. So first of all, we have to, you mentioned Diane Keaton, and I'm so glad you did because there is a social expectation for libido, right? And so
I'm curious about this.
So often that's not reality. No, so often that's not reality, right? You know, Diane might be pretending to be too tired for sex, but like she's not living that in her real life. So there's the social expectation of libido. And then there's your personal expectation about what you want for yourself, whether or not you have a partner. I mean, this isn't really all about the partner. This is about what you want for yourself. No, it's like
your vagina and do you want to have, like, do you want to have sex? Like, are you turned on? Like, do you want it? Do you desire it? So, in my life, I've wanted it and not wanted it. And then I wanted it. And sometimes I don't want it.
And we're allowed. We're allowed to want it sometimes and not want it sometimes. And kind of be able to go from either not wanting it to wanting it in a certain amount of time and vice versa. The one thing I really want to say to you and your audience is how important arousal is before sexual intercourse, especially as we age, because our vaginal wall is thinning. It's getting very sensitive. And so arousal and a really good lubricant are important, a clean lubricant. My favorite brand is Good Clean Love. So listeners, check out Good Clean Love. I trust that brand.
Got it. So it's normal for your libido to change, and it's important to be aroused and use good, clean lubricant.
And your connection is as important as, the emotional connection is as important as the physical connection when you're going to have a partner involved.
I just want to know, just because I need to know, postmenopausal, when they're like, the kids are out of the house, I'm with my hot husband, am I still going to want it? Is my libido going to be in the trash?
No,
or is it going to be like spiking high?
Actually, it might be rekindled because of that. Oh my gosh, we're done with that part. Like, how exciting. It's just us again. It's like a second honeymoon. And if it's not, things like couples therapy are there. There are sex coaches for people that are over a certain age. Like, that's their niche. Those are their people.
So the stereotypical thing that people or mainstream would think of, like, oh, there's going to be a peak in this woman's in the 40s, or she's in her prime. Is that bullshit?
I actually think our prime is, if we go to our genetics, much younger, because ancestral philosophy or a theory says that, we're supposed to start having kids around 12, 13-ish, right? When we get our first period. So our sexual, peaking time is really when we're younger, so that we procreate then. We're meant to have the children then. Again, genetically speaking, I'm not talking socially. And so there's more of like that body expectation of procreation when we're younger. And it's really important as we age to, again, with a partner, to create and maintain an emotional connection, because for women, we know the emotional connection really needs to be there for the sexual experience to be as great as it can be.
So you answered as no. It just doesn't be like, it's Diane Keaton. She always seems to like get it in with the old dude.
Oh, she always does. I mean, it's her movie.
Okay. So how can people find you on the internet and work with you, Kathy?
You can find me at kathyfritzcoaching.com or on Instagram at Kathy Fritz Coaching. That's Kathy with a K. Fritz, like my toilet's on the Fritz. Coaching, coaching. And I would love to hear from any of your people, because as I said, I think they're probably my people too.
I think so too. So if you're listening to this, I am so thankful you made it this far in our episode. I'm sure you're laughing or maybe peeing your pants. Hopefully not. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. It helps our podcast. Also, don't be afraid to screenshot this episode and slide into our DMs. We want to hear from you and let us know what you thought about this episode. So I'll link everything in the show notes, and thank you for being here today. It was an honor to connect and serve you this week. If you are a spiritually curious person wanting to conceive and heal blockages in your fertility, click the link in the episode description to learn more about the Fertility Foundation Collective. Until next time, my friend, know you are loved.